In 2010, 73% of young people on the internet were engaging with online virtual worlds. Nowadays, most of those virtual worlds have been lost to time. Years of friendship, community, and online history just disappeared over a couple of years. Very, very rarely with a bang, and most of the time with just a little whimper. The shutdown of online virtual worlds has led to a critical decline in safe internet third spaces for children. While websites like Club Penguin and Moshi Monsters were not perfect in the slightest, we are seeing a rise in increasingly predatory business and monetization practices amongst kids' spaces online, especially when it comes to virtual currency and how the consumer information of young people is being documented and used. Today, we're going to look back at the virtual worlds of yesterday, some of which have been entirely lost to time. We'll be looking at how they ran, their business model, and were they really better than what we have today? Stick around to find out. Before we begin, this video is sponsored by myself. The old internet never really left, you just have to dig a little bit deeper to find it nowadays. Alongside making YouTube videos, I'm an artist creating stories and characters inspired by the 2000s internet and various other 2000s media. If you miss online forums, virtual worlds, and flash games, my artwork will definitely be for you. If you are interested in learning more, you can find my website in the description, but I will not keep you any longer. Thank you so much for listening, and let's jump into the video. WeWorld and their extension service WeMe was a Scottish virtual world and avatar creation system made in March of 2000. WeWorld extended far beyond the reach of just having a singular virtual world, and their avatar creation system service was actually offered in a wide range of social media networking and messaging sites as well. The place I remember it from personally was actually MSN. Me and my cousin used to chat through MSN pretty regularly when I was very, very young. WeWorld was known for having quite a vast range of customization options, which were frequently updated through the game's lifetime. The game also relied heavily on celebrity tie-ins and promotions to support the game's player base, including making official Weemies for celebrities like Justin Bieber, the Pussycat Dolls, Maroon 5, Alicia Keys, Raven-Symoné, and plenty more. Honestly, you can kind of tell what era this game had its heyday in just by the list of celebrity tie-ins. WeWorld was extremely active in the mid to late 2000s, with around 600,000 new users on a monthly basis and an active player base of about 21 million. At this point in time, around 70% of teenagers had their own computer or had access to a computer in the family home, and online social networking was very much still in its infancy. A lot of online safety rules only exist today because the things they prevent actually happened on the internet. WeWorld, being one of the first mass social media platforms for teenagers, meant that moderation likely wasn't fully prepared for many of the problems we nowadays see as being extremely obvious. For example, parental reviews from the time state that the platform had issues with casual swearing, not safe for work discussion, and a poor choice of advertising for a site aimed at teenagers. However, it seems like over time the moderation did improve, as later reviews do mention better filtering. Like with any virtual world, there was an issue with age demographics. Reviews of the site from kids and teenagers state there was a significant disconnect between the audiences that played on WeWorld. Younger kids and tweens felt uncomfortable and were at higher risk of exploitation from bad actors, while older teens using the platform found the influx of younger users to be really annoying, especially because many teenagers were already using online worlds to escape from their annoying younger siblings. Both sides were sort of gradually being pushed out due to a lack of concrete demographic for the game, and I think this partially contributed to WeWorld's drop in memberships and its eventual closure. By 2014, the website had lost about £16.7 million, and with no investors willing to contribute, the company behind WeWorld went into liquidation and eventually stopped operating entirely. They sold the platform to Opinurate, I think is how you pronounce it, a customer analytics company who decided to permanently pull the plug on WeWorld and WeMe as well. WeWorld left no final message in its absence and instead quietly went dark on around May 11th, 2017. WeWorld was one of the early platforms that just didn't end up growing and adapting to the growing online world. It had everything it needed, but issues with demographics and a lack of change are what eventually killed it off. Other virtual worlds were shut down due to a shift in marketing tactics and an overall shift in mobile gaming, including Build-A-Bearville was created by the Build-A-Bear company in collaboration with Firma Studio and launched in October of 2007. While you didn't need a Build-A-Bear to play the game, entering your Build-A-Bear's code into the game was a core part of the process, and it would allow you to explore more locations, do more activities, and access more parts of the game. I used to be a bit of a Build-A-Bear collector when I was a kid. It was probably my first special interest alongside Pokemon. So you can imagine that I was big into this when it was out. I was like big into this. Bearville was considered among parents to be one of the quote-unquote golden platforms. It had a combination of human moderators along with preset filters, and consistently reminded children not to share their information online. They even had rules against buying and selling virtual items in their game for real money, a pretty interesting rule that a lot of virtual worlds had, but was not so directly put into their rules. The game was also well supported during its lifetime, with most Build-A-Bears being released between 2007 and 2015, seemingly having in-game rewards and goodies for kids to redeem in Bearville. For example, the Applejack Build-A-Bear gave you an Applejack backpack, the Cookie Dough Bear gave you a bike, so on and so forth. However, there are some plushies where it's unknown if the bear gave you any rewards due to a lack of solid archives. Some of these bears include Elmo from Sesame Street, the Blue Stingray, Sock Monkey, and the Myrtle Beach Bear. The big criticism people had for Bearville was its consumerist focus. Alongside having a membership system, which was around $40 a year, to having exclusive limited benefits locked behind the purchases of real-world stuffed animals, The Telegraph described it as an early training ground for brand loyalty, which is kind of true. It's kind of true. However, if a membership system and an incentive to purchase stuffed animals were the only issues with this platform, it looks like an absolute angel in comparison to some of the kid-focused platforms we have today and the issues that they have. Build-A-Bearville shut down on the 31st of May 2015, citing a declining player base and a change in creative direction being the main reasons. Almost immediately after the shutdown, Build-A-Bear Play was launched. I couldn't find much information on this, but I imagine it was pretty similar to the Flash games that were available alongside Bearville. In 2018, Build-A-Bear removed any and all games and activities from their website and shifted towards an entirely e-commerce focus. There is an ongoing effort to fully archive and one day create a rewritten server for Build-A-Bearville, with a team working hard on restoring old assets and code. They regularly create announcements and posts urging people to check the caches of their old computers and laptops, as they may still have Build-A-Bear data on them. I would highly recommend checking your own systems if you can, and they have a tutorial on how to do this. Build-A-Bear Rewritten is only possible because of the passion of its fan base, and the fact that it was still free and mostly accessible to everyone, even if you didn't have a Build-A-Bear. Therefore, there are a large amount of archives compared to the entry we'll be looking at next. If you thought Build-A-Bear's barrier to entry was expensive, buckle up. Inner Star University was an online virtual world made to surround the American Girl brand of dolls. In the late 2000s, we began to see a bigger connection to toys and virtual worlds. While Build-A-Bearville was an early pioneer, they were far from the only ones. For example, Barbie began releasing Barbie MP3 players that could get you connected to the BarbieGirls.com online virtual world. American Girl also seemingly wanted to cash in on the new trend, so they created Inner Star U. Instead of being free to play with locked features behind a toy purchase, to play Inner Star U, you needed to buy an American Girl doll, and use the included code to sign up. At the time, an American Girl doll costed around $100, sometimes more depending on the added accessory packs and playsets. For reference, this is around the same price as 2 years of Club Penguin membership. However, the good thing about Inner Star U is that all you needed to get full access to the game was that doll. There was no need for a VIP subscription alongside your toy purchase like Bearville. Players could explore the campus, play minigames led by other American Girl dolls, go shopping, and talk to each other. Books were also published on the Inner Star U website with a choose-your-own-adventure style and multiple endings. Inner Star U was only around for 5 years before they announced the closure of their website in 2015, and stated the following in their closure announcement. If you love Inner Star University like I do, you won't want to miss this important news. On November 5th, 2015, Inner Star University will officially close and you'll no longer have access to it. The Inner Star U campus guides would like you to know that after Inner Star U closes, we'll miss you and all the good times we've had here. But we'll be looking forward to trying new things too, such as the fun inspiration activities on the American Girl Truly Me webpage. Every day you'll find a new collection of things to do, including crafts, mini quizzes, games, advice, recipes, and doll play activities. You'll also find special online pages for quizzes, pets, do-it-yourself, videos, and a fan gallery where you can submit photos. And remember, you can still enjoy everything Inner Star U has to offer until November 5th. I know I plan to make most of our last months together at Inner Star U. I hope you do too. Inner Star U was this really interesting intersection of the Toys to Life concept, reading and books, technology, and virtual worlds. It really did stay true to its demographic. so dead set that you couldn't even try the game without buying a doll. I do think this harsh loyalty to its demographic was actually its downfall, however. Unlike Build-A-Bear, which has a presence in over 30 countries, American Girl only has its presence in the USA. While it did try to integrate itself into the worldwide market with stores in Mexico, Canada, Dubai, and even Bahrain, this wasn't until either just before or after the closure of the website. And adding on to that, American Girl is considered to be a middle and upper class status symbol. The dolls, and therefore the website, were considered pretty inaccessible to the average consumer. There is actually a BuzzFeed quiz centered around the fact that American Girl doll furniture can cost actually quite a bit more than real furniture made for humans. Not to discount the craftsmanship that likely goes into the American Girl furniture, it does look amazing. It was more so a quiz to show what kind of demographic American Girl appeals to. So, in conclusion, single country reach, aiming for a middle to upper class background, requiring a purchase of a doll to play, that is a lot of limitation. That's a lot of limitation. And around this time, a lot of virtual worlds were already beginning to feel the pinch of a declining player base, even without those barriers to entry. There's no specific data on how large of a player base InstaU had or how many accounts were registered on the platform, so it's very hard to say how popular the website actually was. A rewritten project for InstaU was begun in 2021, however, their Twitter page has not been active since the month the project launched, and it seems like the interest in the restoration quickly died down. And like I said before, the player base for InstaU is probably quite small, so how many people had cache data to contribute to a rewritten version is very, very hard to say. And whether we'll see this one be archived in the future, I am not 100% sure actually. I'm not 100% sure on this one. And that was 3 of the many lost virtual worlds on the internet. There are plenty more. In fact, there is a whole iceberg that I would really love to cover one day. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you are new around here, welcome, hi, hello. I make a new video every Friday, post shorts, and I stream here from time to time as well. So if that sounds like a good time to you, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next video. That is all from me this week. Thank you so much again. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and goodbye!